All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been going over this series of articles of from the Mozilla Developer Network on learning web development, getting started with the web. It's about a 9-part series. So far, I've gone over getting started with a web browser, or with a web overview, installing basic software, what will your website look like, dealing with files, HTML basics, CSS basics, and I'm in the middle of JavaScript basics. So afterwards, we've got publishing your website and how the web works, and then we'll jump into this in more detail. All right, so I'm in JavaScript basics, and I'm probably a good halfway down or so into it, maybe not quite halfway down. We just talked about the different data types that you've got available in the language, and we were now into operators. Now, most of the operators that you see here are ones that you're used to. In other words, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, there's a few other ones that you may or may not be aware of, such as one is called the modulo operator. So if you remember back in the day when you learned division for the first time, and somebody said, what is 17 divided by 3? And you said, it's 5R2, meaning it was 5 with a remainder of 2. Well, if you work with the modulus operator, modulo works with that remainder. So quite often you use the modulus operator if you're working with times, or hours, minutes, and seconds, etc., or dollars and cents type of things. So there are other ways to use it too, but those are two of the ones you use it most often. Then there's assignment, which is a single equal sign. And technically, if I write myself a line of JavaScript code that says let age equal, or how about this? Let legal age equal 21. That means take the value 21 and assign it to the variable legal age. So assignment, technically, we read it as equality, but it means assignment. Now, there's two other kinds of ways you can check for equality, and they show one of them here. That's the one you'd use most often, the triple equal sign. And what that means, I call it equality and identity. Now, the way that JavaScript works, and you might find this a bit confusing, and if you do, sorry about that, but let me do this. So if I come in here and I say let x equal 3, let y equal 3. So in the first case, it's the number 3. In the second case, it's the string with 3 in it. Now, if I say if x equal y, even though one of them is a string and one of them is a number, that will still be true. On the other hand, if I say if x triple equal y, like that, I guess I should have another space in here, that is false. So what's the difference? This says, basically, for lack of better words, do they have the same value in them? And they do, even though one's numeric and one's not. This says, do they have the same value in them, and are they the same type of variable? And since one is a number and one is a string, well, of course not. They're not the same type of variable. The recommendation is you very rarely, if ever, use this. You virtually always use this. So you get used to using the triple equal sign and not the double equals. Just like there's equality, there's inequality. So single equals, exclamation point, triple equals, exclamation point, equal, equal. Okay? All right. So next is conditionals. And let's look at it three different ways, or two different ways, I'm sorry. So I'll quickly show you two different ways of doing conditionals, okay? So let's suppose that I create a variable that's called size. So I say let size equals, and I'll put S in there for small. Okay. Now I'm going to put in here just dot, 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 which means there's some code in here. Some code here. It doesn't matter what it's doing. I don't care. But I'm a little further down in my program. Now I say if size equal, we'll even do it like that, S. Then what we want to do is we want to, and don't worry about what this means because we're going to go over all of it, but let's just say you want to say alert, your size is a small. So that should say on the screen, your size is a small. Else, if, just cheat here. Size equal M, your size is a medium. Else, if size is an L, your size is a large. Else, if it's an XL, then it's an extra large. Otherwise, I'm just going to put in here alert, unknown size. Now, these curly braces are technically not even needed here. So and where you place them is up to you. Just so you can see everything, I'm going to move these a little bit. So you're writing your program here. And what's going to happen? Well, size was an S, correct? So it checks here and it says, is size equal to S? It is. So an alert should come up on the screen that says your size is small. And all that in gray will be skipped. Imagine we change this to an M. Now this will be skipped. This will be hit, and it'll say your size is a medium. And the rest of this will be skipped. So you do it again, and you assume it's equal to L. Now you skip this, and you skip this, and it'll alert or print a message on the screen that says your size is a large, and it'll skip this. Now you do it again, and you put in XL, and it skips all of this, and it says, oh, there's a match. So it says your size is extra large. Now you do it again, and you put in there G. It's not an S, it's not an M, it's not an L, it's not an XL. So it's going to skip all of these, and it's going to say unknown size. Now, hopefully, just quickly looking at that, it made a little bit of sense to you, because I want to show you over here another way of writing this. All right, so imagine well, I can't do this. So let's come here and do this. So I'm going to split my screen right here. All right, so I've got this. I'm going to just steal all of this for a second and rewrite it quickly over here. Okay, yes. So again, I'm just going to steal a little bit of my code here, my own code, so I make it easier for us to get through this. So So what I've tried to very quickly show you here is two different ways of writing what's typically referred to as a conditional. These will work the same way. This is using a series of if, else if with an else statement, and this is a switch statement. They will do the same thing. In both cases, we're checking, and since here I set the size, let's just say it was an S. In fact, let's make it an M. Okay, in fact, I want to make it a capital M because they have to match here. Whoops. All right, and I'll make it an M here too. And let me get rid of all this code here and the code here so you can hopefully see just about everything. So in both cases, I'm checking to see what size is equal to. Here I'm doing a direct check, equal, equal, equal. Here I'm using what's called a switch statement, which has different cases. If it's not an S and not an M and not an L and not an XL, you print out unknown size. If it's not an S, if it's not an M, if it's not an L or an XL, you print out unknown size. They're working the same way. These are two different ways that you can use what are called selections and write select statements. All right. Now I'm at 12 minutes already, and I don't want to go over, so I'm going to go on. You can write functions. Typically, not always, but typically you write functions when you've got code that you want to be able to call over and over again. What does that mean? Well, again, let's just go back into, I just showed you these examples. Let's bring up another one here. All right, so I'm going to bring up yet another example here, okay? And I'm going to put in this. I'm going to create a function that's called add2. And I'm going to pass into it num1 and num2. And what that function is going to do is it's going to return num1 plus num2. That's all it's doing. And up here, I'm going to create, I don't know, about 6 different variables. Let A equal 10, let B equal 20, let C equal 30, let D equal 40, and finally let E equal 50. I guess I'll have 6. And let F equals 60. Okay? Now, I'm going to put in here alert, and I'm going to put, let's see. I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to put in here sum1 equals add2, and I'm going to pass in A and B. I'm going to put this in 3 times, and I'm going to have sum1, sum2, and sum3. And I'll pass A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now if I put in alert statements, I can put an alert after each one of these, and I'll say here sum1 equals plus sum1, and this will say sum2 equals sum2, and sum3 equals sum3. Well, hopefully you're already getting this. This right here should say sum1 equals 30, 10 plus 20. This one should say sum2 equals 70, which is 30 plus 40. And this one should say sum3 equals 110, which is 50 plus 60. Notice I only have to write the code to add the 2 numbers once, and I'm calling it 3 different times. That's the value of using functions. All right, when you've got code that you want to be able to call repeatedly, Okay, and there's a lot more to it. We'll spend some more time on it when we get to that part of the book. All right, or these presentations. All right. Now, two things. I'm going to skip events just for a second. And they've got supercharging our example website. They're doing an image changer. Maybe we'll come back in here and do that in just a bit. That's totally fine. All right. And adding a personalized welcome message. Well, that's fine too. I use the date and the time instead, so that's okay. Finally, they talk in here about a username of null. Null means unknown. If it is your first semester at Rankin Technical College and you're taking your first class, you don't have a GPA. Your GPA is null. It's not zero. That would mean you're failing. It's unknown, so it's null. All right. The only other thing I want to mention in here from right now is, and again, they used multiply where I used add, but it's pretty much the same. And that's event handling. All right. So they've got here, let's see. It says enter the following into your console and then click on the current web page. So it says enter it into the console. So let's see. I don't like this example that they're using in here at all. Here's one that they have at W3 school, so let's look. They're creating a button, and when you click it, it should tell you the date. So the time is, you click it, notice there it's giving it to you. If I click it again, it's been updated. All right. JavaScript, like many programming languages, is what's referred to as an event-driven programming language. You put code in, and when you make the code run, it does what you, or hopefully it does what you want it to do. All right. So with something that is event-driven, it says real interactivity on a website requires event handlers. These are code structures that listen for activity and run code in response. It says the most obvious is a click event that's fired when something is clicked. So they give their example. I just gave you mine. All right. Now, I'm just about finished in here. And what I do want to do is when we get done with this, which we are basically done with it right now, notice we have a whole thing that we're going to be looking at later about learning JavaScript. So next, I'm going to jump into publishing your website, which is fairly short. We'll probably be able to do that in one lecture. And then we'll jump into the last part of this, which is how the web works. Had I written this, I would have done the how the web works first, but that's the way they did it, so I'm following their lead. I'll be back shortly.